Yeah. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to see you, bud.
Usually, thank you. It's good to see you too.
Been a long time.
Welcome to episode four of BCS podcast. Tonight, my guest is the one and only Collin Crossland.
And I hope I'm the only.
Applause break.
Thank you.
Big applause break. We're waiting on the applause. Okay. Collin, thank you for having me over. We just had dinner and some drinks, and it's been a great evening so far.
Good to see you, man.
So I very much appreciate you having me in. Really looking forward to this conversation. That was so quick.
So loud.
That was so quick.
It's so loud.
Okay, so now you know where Collin stands as far as the NFL is concerned. Those fans are a little louder than, other fans. Nothing wrong with it. Back to back.
I will say I go to work with mostly Chiefs fans, and they were all like, "That's a really loud jacket." And I was like, "Listen, I said I would buy it if they won that Super Bowl, which I didn't think they'd win." So,
well, they sure did. Back to back. Not the subject I was planning to get on this early, but that's okay.
We don't have to talk.
Collin, we've known each other. By God, I mean, the furthest I can go back is like RFC.
6th grade for me.
Early church.
That's when I first met you. Yeah, I remember.
At church, probably?
Yep. I remember I met you and Colton at the same time in the playground outside of the old sanctuary.
Okay. All right.
Before,
way throwback.
Gag, or it was called Gag Wednesday nights.
Gag was going after God.
Sure.
Yeah, which is
sure it was.
I don't know why they named it that,
but it was done by this woman, Deb Porter, and it wasn't Todd Gardner. He was Sunday mornings, but Deb Porter works for Crossland Construction as like the CEO's personal assistant now. So she really just 1-2 punch. Me teaching me about God, and then working for the head of my company, and he's awesome. So,
do you remember good times at old RFC?
Oh yeah, I mean most of everything
I have almost nothing but good things to say about like the old times.
I learned so much about life and fun things in RFC. I mean, just meeting you guys was awesome, and I think I was at a point in middle school where I was like, I cannot hang out with these, with like I don't know why, but like I wasn't making any friends. And then I went to RFC and I was making friends left and right. It was great. Yeah, it was awesome. So, yeah.
Well, man, when we had this is old school. When we had the old church with the playground, that's as classic as it gets. That's been since dozed for 20 years, or I don't know how long they dozed.
It was a big deal when they dozed it.
They dozed it a long time ago.
There's still like a room in the RFC currently where like they have like the lights hanging or something, like
some memorabilia,
like chandelier lights or something from the old
that they had to keep.
That was what they held on to.
Well, so
that thing was leaky as hell, though. It had to go.
I loved it, though. I mean, it was that bottom, not like the top
basement.
But
yeah,
the basement
area was amazing.
Was rough. Yeah. It was perfect for us.
I
but
played
it was
in
rough.
a middle school band with Josh Davis, Tyler Schallenberger, Kai Adams, and Bobby DeBusk.
Bobby D days.
We played the worst music you have ever heard, and we thought we were okay, and we were not. Like Tyler was great, Josh was great.
You had everybody down there,
just dragging everybody down.
Well, everybody that was down there was like bought in. They loved it, like dancing the whole nine. So whether you were good or bad, the audience,
no one knew.
The audience had your back.
That was the good thing. Is like no one knew if we were good or not.
We're just encouraged.
This is what you had.
No,
you couldn't go online and look it up.
That's what I say, though. I mean, I look back to those times of like, God, it's just like all good times, just friends, just Bobby D, cool guys, like leading us, rampant the church fan and stuff. Sorry to rat you out, Bobby.
We were so lucky to have someone like Bobby.
I agree.
Yeah, at the time.
And not such, like, I know, I don't want to call out any denominations, but some are just very, like, upright and proper.
Sure, yeah.
And I think we were allowed to be pretty free and express ourselves and run around and burn off energy. And
yeah, I've probably been to six different church games when I was a kid. and ours was obviously the best.
Camp Quaker Haven.
Yeah, Camp Quaker Haven.
Oh my god! I mean, legendary.
Nothing will beat the Austin Powers year.
Legendary, dude. It was so good. They nailed that.
All those
church
guys,
camp.
and I mean, they nailed that experience.
I totally agree.
It was amazing. God, what was the one where they put the video together of like all the? No, it was the Lord of the Rings one.
Oh,
you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah, where they were like,
that's a deep cut.
Yeah, they did this giant Lord of the Rings. I mean, they were doing special effects and videos before it was even like they made a call to a friend at a university to put it together.
This is like 05 or something.
And they they quadrupled themselves and all the people they could get into one field. And made an army. It was so cool. Like,
that's amazing.
Going above and beyond like that for a bunch of kids that are not going to appreciate it at the time.
That's such a deep cut, man. That's hilarious.
God, I remember that so well.
Yeah, we just took it for granted. We were like, this is awesome, but it was amazing. So anyway, we go way back. How about we just speed up to where we are now?
Sure.
What does your life look like? What's a day in the life? How does Collin live his days out?
Well, so I work for a construction company, and I run all their data. I catalog it, I analyze it, I try to find ways to make try to make different pathways to gain profit in different areas. I try to figure out like, hey, this is a waste. Hey, this is a process that can be invented that can help things.
Is this purely software based?
It's a combination of things. It's like, yeah, it is software based, but it is also like you're using different tools to connect different softwares. So basically I'm a data, I don't have the title. What I'm called is a business intelligence analyst. So I'm Jack Ryan in I'm Jack Ryan in a Tom Clancy novel.
Okay.
And then when shit hits the fan and things need to get really heavy, I get in there and I try to figure out something that works for everybody. And it's hard, but it's so much fun. Like this week, I was able to launch a website for 4 different companies to all figure out and talk together, share information, and then also have updated data. All the user accounts are automatically generated off of a server I built, and so yeah, and that was Monday. I launched that Monday, but it was a 6-month project. I was a project manager. I didn't build the website. I don't know how to build websites. That's so hard. And I know how to run data. I know how to make it move from one place to another. And
that's what you went to college for?
No. I went to college for finance.
Okay.
And family enterprise. So like family businesses, how they run, how to make them run past the 3rd generation, which is what I am. Because family businesses, about 66% make it past the 2nd generation.
Interesting.
33% make it past the 3rd. I'm the 3rd generation.
They die off.
So if I want my kids to ever go into it, which if you're seeing this, think about it. But if I want, my cousin's kids to, inherit a business, I have to work 3 times as hard to make sure that it's possible.
Now, is that like almost an accounting lane for finances?
It can be, yeah. Yeah, it's accounting. It's really understanding all aspects of it.
Okay.
Like what data are you looking at, and then helping people to understand it. Because I started this journey like 6 years ago. So people were coming. I was making videos. Just like your brother, just like you are.
I think that's how you two really connected.
I was making marketing videos, and I needed his help for a bunch of different things. And he was always better. He had a better camera hand than I did. So we'd go and film like concrete pours together, like in Joplin, and he would just be there in the middle of the night with me. I was like, this is so much better when I'm not alone.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, he'd get paid, and I would, and so people were coming to me when I was making all these videos, and they were like, hey, your dad's retired, and I don't feel like anyone's listening to me and getting the information I need to do my job. And I was like, well, I'm in Kansas City, making a video. And I'm like, well, that's crazy.
Oh, okay.
We should probably look into that. And so I started looking into it and seeing how I could help. And I stumbled across this. I was like, oh, wow, no one's getting, I put multiple tests out there. I was like, hey, see if this comes back and see if you can get this, get this in Excel. See if you can get this in Excel. So I did that and nothing was coming back. Like, it would take them 5-6 weeks. I was like, that's crazy.
Whoa.
And if you're at the top, you're the CEO or the president, you don't think there's a problem because information comes to you like that. So I went back to school, like, I think at the age of like 27, 28, something like that. I don't know how old I am. But I went back to KU. I went to KU in Overland Park, and I started learning data science in this boot camp for 6 months. 6 months, like 3 days a week, no Saturdays. It was like Saturdays was a 5-hour workshop for 6 months.
Whoa.
But I can honestly say it was the most rewarding. Like, every time I went to class was, I got something.
You just
out
ate
of
it up
every time. And so, yeah, it was the most valuable training I ever had. And I started putting these proposals together and trying to petition people and trying to get things moving and being like, hey, I can do this. I can interact with all these people. I can help them figure out where they are, because they were sitting on this mountain of data and no one had any idea. So
lots of initiative, I'm sensing.
Well,
your end,
kind of have to, if, in my head, I'm tied to the ship. I got to make sure it runs. So
that may be true. It seems like
it's my name on the building, and so I just wanted to make it as good. And I will say I work with the greatest people of all time, like every single one of them. And all the people that resisted at first, they all eventually faded out. So the problem solved itself, and now our CEO, our president, every department head knows that they can trust me with the data I have, and they come to me whenever they need something fast. And it took a long time to get there, but I'm glad I'm there. And it's a good time. So I love what I do.
That's awesome.
Every day's fun.
That's a great way to look at it, that you're attached to the ship and that you have to do something if you see a problem. But I give you props on, you saw a problem and you attacked it. I think you could have easily been passive and said, oh, that, sucks or whatever. But
well, it came like in a really perfect time in my life. Like, I was just dating my wife at the time, and I realized that she was kind of, I was like, oh, she's the one.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I have no way to buy a ring.
Right. Right.
And so I was like, I got to make some career moves, because I've been doing this for a while and it's not going really as where I need it to be. So I was like, oh, I'm also going to have a family. Like, I need to make some moves.
Yeah, be ready for a family.
I was like, well, I got to throw all this out. I was kind of burnt out in video. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, it was just done.
Passion was gone?
I don't know. I still can't make a video.
What do you mean can't?
It's gone.
Like, you just...
I swear to God, it's gone.
No interest?
I don't know. I don't have the same, like, ability to see things I used to. It just faded. I was spending a lot of time in a dark room by myself, like, with no one around me for a long time, like probably 6-7 years. And that, it weighs on you. It's hard.
It's a long
time. Things were coming out faster. The lengths of videos were shortening. I didn't think I could figure it out. Like, I was like, I can't make it cut. Like, that's that good in 1 minute. So I was kind of like, my time is up. So I need to figure out something else to do.
But a natural progression. It didn't seem like you...
It was just like, okay, your time is done. It's time to walk away and figure out something else.
That's perfect.
I just lean into what I knew, and I'd been in this business for 20 years. I knew what I was looking at when it came to data. So,
but you didn't leave prematurely. It was like it was due. You were ready to walk.
No, I mean, there were times. I mean, I was hit with so much resistance in the beginning that I was like, oh, maybe it's time to walk away. But I was like, I can't do that.
Keep hammering on it.
This is everything. I love all my cousins, man. They work so hard. My brother, and they work so hard at what they do. They're so, like, people, you'll have investors come in and tell you, these big banks, they'll be like, you need to invest your money with us because your next generation is going to mess it all up. And we would just sit there and listen and be like, okay. So,
Wow.
sure. But, I really think that I think we're the 10% that makes it to, the 5th gen,
I love the confidence.
Oh, yeah.
I love the
I'm
confidence.
not worried at all. I've seen every single one of my cousins work harder than anyone, they love what they do and they're the best. They're just kind of an anomaly, like, really.
It's just crazy that they all work under the same building, under the same name.
Yeah. Yeah. Some in Texas, some in Kansas City. Most of us are in Columbus now, and I used to be in KC. And we're in separate buildings, but it's just like, you come in and they're like, yeah, they're as stressed out as I am. Like, oh, it's nice. It's good to see.
Lots of bonding going on. Well, that's great, man. Last we talked, you said how fortunate you are to be where you are, to have the family that you have, and it's awesome to hear that. Let's rewind. Let's go way back.
Okay.
How was your childhood?
I had a pretty great childhood. I grew up in a small town of, Columbus, Kansas, a town of like, I don't want to guess the population. I want to say it's like 7,000. I could be, what's Riverton?
500.
Okay, so 7,000.
Very, very small.
I want to say 7,000 greater Columbus area.
Yeah, 7 sounds all
What's
right.
Baxter? Do you know?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure.
I was born in Joplin. I grew up in, small town in Kansas for 15 years, and then I moved back to Joplin, and then I went to private school here for 15 to 18. So yeah,
basically all high school was
all
private
high
school.
school was private school.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was just so I could get to a college that was as far away from the family business as possible.
Wow. Okay, I can't wait to get to there. Growing up, is there anything that like stands out to you? Any memories, good, bad?
I really appreciate that I grew up in a town where I could ride my bike like 2-3 miles away and not have to worry at all. Maybe I did. I don't know. But
like your parents didn't worry.
No. Well, yeah. I try to explain that to my wife now.
Yeah.
I was like, she's like, are you watching the kids? I'm like, they're in the backyard and it's gated. It's fine. Like, she's like, you need to be watching them at all times. I'm like, well, my parents let me go play under the railroad track bridge. So
it's crazy, like what a different time it is.
It's wild. Like, but everything's fine. Like, it was, I really appreciated that. I was middle class when I was born. Probably by the time I was in, junior high, grade school, I was getting to be upper middle class. And then, I think we hit pretty upper class pretty quickly. It just all happened real fast. I didn't realize it. And then people made me aware of it pretty quickly.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. Did you feel the socioeconomic shift?
Man, I didn't.
You were young.
I felt it, but I didn't know what was happening. My parents never let on to that kind of stuff. I was always really excited to go to anybody's house. I didn't care.
Right.
We didn't really have, my first house was like a 2-bedroom, house. I don't know how big a square feet. It wasn't big square feet, but regular small middle class house on a cul-de-sac with 2 other Crossland families. So we were all pretty tight.
That's awesome.
Get-go.
That's almost like the dream.
Yeah, it was crazy.
As a kid, you don't realize what you have, what you don't have. It's just what you have.
Yeah,
my
older cousin Mikey made me aware of that the other day. I was like, don't you think it's weird we all don't get together as we did when we were kids? He's like, yeah, but we all lived on the same street. There was no not getting together.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to get together, it was hard. And I was like, oh, because he just lives 10 minutes that way. So
yeah.
But
it's like if you wanted to stay in or something, they just like go to your bedroom window, like, yo, come on outside, let's play.
Yeah, the business expanded so fast. That's no one could have anticipated that. Like, we got so big so fast, and pretty soon everybody. I was going to school and people were in hoodies with Crossland on it, so it was hard.
Like, that's your name.
Yeah,
right
and I was
there.
like, oh, hi, I didn't know.
Just a fan,
yeah.
or
some people to this. Today and back then they had more Crossland gear than I have still. So It's just very strange.
So back then, say pre-high school is kind of what I'm getting vibe wise. Pre-high school was kind of the middle class to where you were fine, well off, but not all. And then there was like this rapid expansion. Crossland obviously has grown through the years, but back then it was a smaller company.
I think it really kind of started when we started doing Walmarts.
Okay.
Like I think it started out, we were doing steel repairs at Walmarts all over the country. I mean, I'm talking as far as Seattle, Delaware.
Wow.
I mapped it one time and the data, it was crazy.
And out of Columbus.
Yeah.
Columbus is HQ.
These are just small steel jobs at the time. So like you come in, you weld some things together, you move your crew around. My uncle was running that, my Uncle Mike, and he was just bouncing crews all over the country doing these. It's a whole division at the time of just doing these Walmart steel jobs all over and just coming in, doing a quick steel job and then getting out. And then we started building all of the Walmarts.
Wow.
And that's when it really popped off. I think we built their first data center in Arkansas. And so from there, the name got out and that we could handle that kind of work. And then we did the Pitt State Tech Center. And I think that was my grandpa's last project that he oversaw. And I think that was 2001. And that was the biggest job at the time. I think it was like 18 million, something like that, 20 million.
And that's crazy because that tech center, you walk in there today and it's like a marvel,
It's
like,
great, yeah.
It's still beautiful to this day.
Still a great
20 plus years later.
Building, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
All Pitt State's been so good to us. Like we built a lot of their buildings and it's, our CEO is an alumni. His kids are alumni. Most of my cousins are alumni. Like it's really cool.
That's wicked.
Yeah. I filmed a lot of things there. The Overman Student Center, I filmed the concrete pour there, and I love a lot of history there.
See, that's so interesting because
I did a summer semester there.
Yeah, summer semester. That's interesting though, because I that's how I picture you, and maybe that's because like that's when you and Colton, my brother, really got tight. Was you guys were filming kind of those? I guess it was just Crossland projects. Or you guys did all kinds of stuff, but like the Crossland projects, and I saw you guys collaborating so much there that's where I picture you still almost, was this kind of creative outlet, putting something together for, I guess, would that be marketing?
Yeah.
Most of those works.
Yeah, I was flying drones.
I remember a lot of drone flying.
People thought I was crazy back then to fly drones.
And now it's common practice.
I really like to think, and I am going to brag about this, but like I really like to think that I was one of the first people who was like, oh, if you duct tape a GoPro to the bottom of this quadcopter, it'll be awesome. And I did.
And it looked amazing.
I remember the CEO popped his head in and he's like, that's never going to work. I'm like, oh, it'll work. Like,
wow.
So we did.
Like, watch this.
It was like 6 minutes of flight time. Yeah, it was terrible because it would drain.
Oh my gosh.
It was like a GoPro Hero 2, so it was probably like the weight of like this whiskey glass.
right, with all the liquid.
Just weighing it down. It was never meant to handle that. But I tell you what, it was some of the best footage ever. And then as soon as we started putting that out, like a lot of people started copying.
Total game changer.
Yeah. That was 2012.
Because even today, honestly, it's like if you can get all the shots you want on the ground, but as soon as you get up in the air, it completely changes the feel of the video, the quality of the video. So doing it back then, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was the drone guy for the longest time. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's
cool.
Oh,
Collin's coming out. Like, oh, Collin Crossland's coming out. He's got that drone, dude. Oh,
you bringing the drone with the duct tape? With the duct tape and the GoPro?
Fun, man.
That's awesome. So then you go to high school and you go to a private school. How was that different for you than, say, public?
I had to choose to go there.
Okay.
It was one of those, actually, Bobby DeBusk took us to a conference, like a Christian conference for the youth. And I heard a voice in my head that was like, you got to leave Columbus. I was like, what? Why? So I was like, really? And I tried to explain to my parents, and they're like, okay, well, we're not paying that much money for you because you heard a voice. Like, they're like, if you really want to do this, you realize how hard it's going to be, because it was hard to go to that school. It's so much homework. Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Curriculum.
more homework than you had in college.
Right.
For sure. Like,
Curriculum wise, it was
it
heavy.
Sucked. It was horrible.
And you knew that going in?
Yeah, I did. I knew that because my cousins were already going there. So I saw the amount of homework they had, and I was like, oh, this is going to suck. Like, but I was like, this is the only way to get to a college that's as far away as possible. Because I didn't think I could apply all over the country, graduating from, Columbus High School, and they'd take me. So I had to stand out, because I realized I was a very average student at the time. So
so that was the mainly the decision was, yes, it will be more difficult, but it's for the greater good of
the goal was to get
goals.
away from the business so I could figure out who I was.
Okay.
Yeah. And I knew it would take time to do that. So just because, they cast a wide shadow, and I'm very proud of them, but it's just, I had to figure out my own way.
Sure.
But, it all worked out. I found a small private business college on the coast of Florida, and 20 minutes inland. It wasn't the coast. I didn't see a beach every day, but
I'd call it the coast.
it's pretty good. And yeah, I was just like, I got away, and I was able to figure out what was going on in my head and who I was. And when I came back, I was ready to, I fell into serving the business.
So did you enjoy high school?
I did. Man, I had a lot of fun in high school. It was all hard work.
Absolutely.
But we were all going through it together. And everyone there was way smarter than me. And some of them, had way bigger family companies, or they were part of bigger businesses, or their, parents were doctors, or, and, there were other kids that, were just, kind of like me, small towns, and found their way there, or they were there on scholarship. And I bonded with everybody. Like, it was just nice to, I don't know, there's a smaller group. Graduating class was like 26.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very small.
I know. So we knew everybody.
I didn't realize that.
We were the bigger class. Yeah. 26, I think.
I see you getting along with most people. Colton's told me some stories of...
Oh, he's talking about when we were working.
Not that you were rude or anything. Just
I was pretty rude.
That's not the vibe I got. It sounded like you were just standing up for yourself or whatever, but...
No, most of the time, it's just like people, we did a lot of odd jobs, and people would come up to us while we were working, and I would be like, I need to shut this down so that we can get back. And so if that requires me to be, kind of curt, fine.
Yeah, curt. There you go. That's a better way.
But yeah, no, it's, I try to bond with everybody as much as I can. If you can't walk with all walks of life, then why are you walking life? I don't know.
It's pretty deep. So you wanted to get away for valid reasons. You wanted to find yourself, understand, it's part of that finding your lane, because...
Oh yeah, a lot of it. I realized I couldn't do construction.
Okay.
And
you're talking hammer and...
Oh yeah, I had to do it in the summer. Like, and I sucked at it. I wasn't good at it. It was hard, and mostly I wasn't good at it. If I had been good at it, I think I would have crushed it. But, my dad, he was an executive probably by the time I was 3. So, like, it's not like he could go out to the field with me and teach me the ropes. A lot of my cousins did have that. And I didn't, and that's not on him. He was providing. It's fine.
Sure.
Learned a lot from my dad I realized a lot from my dad from becoming a father. All those times, like, he was in the backyard, like, picking up sticks. I was like, oh, he was just working shit out. Like, like he needed some time after work just to himself. He's just picking up those sticks, That was his moment.
And now you get it.
Yeah, I get it totally. Yeah, no, Benny was a really good dad. But I just wasn't good at construction. I realized that, like, I think one day in high school, I sat down with my dad and I was like, what would be my lane if I came back here? And he's like, well, you could You could go this way, you could be a project manager, or you could go this way, you could be a superintendent, you go in the field, or you could go this way, you could work in the office and be an estimator. And I was like, I don't know any of this. Like, it didn't seem like a valid way. You know, the company wasn't so big back then. You know, we weren't doing like 4.8 billion over 3 years.
That's gnarly.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's all companies combined, but no, it was I had to figure out. I was like, I think Crossland expanded just big enough to when I came back that I was able to fit in, because there wasn't an avenue back then to do it. I was like, I can't run a project, and if I do, I'm going to embarrass myself, because I've seen what it takes to do this. I watched, my brother's 9 years older than me. He's a project manager. He's, you know, at the time, I think he was in North Dakota. I was like, fuck that. Like,
You thought that just because of lack of experience?
yeah, that, and I just, you know, I would have had to go to construction school. I didn't have a passion for it. I had other things I was good at, you know, so I just tried to focus on those. The broad concept of business I was better at, and you know, obviously technology. So I leaned into that as much as I could.
How's your relationship with your parents today?
Oh, great. Yeah. Or I mean, we're 10 minutes, or no, we're 3 minutes from them right now. Yeah. I moved back to be around them, you know, because they were, you know, I needed grandparents.
Yeah.
I needed to be around grandparents, and this is where one of the business locations was. So I moved here.
Yeah. Well, especially with the plan of family and whatnot. It's like, yeah, you could go to Florida and stay there and do family there and then fly out to see grandparents, or they're 3 minutes away.
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, I'm 34 right now, and my dad is 70. So, like, we have a very large age difference. But, you know, I really do understand him, probably more than he thinks I do. Like, I realized, like, back when we were kids that, you know, he was in charge of so many people. Like, he had 800 families probably at the time to deal with, and now it's 1,600 families.
Oh my gosh.
So, he had a lot of weight on his shoulders, and when he came home, I could see that, you know, in his eyes, and he handled it really well. I really do think that he handled it really well. Like, no complaints. And he was always there when I really needed him. Like, when I really, it was like, I'm in trouble, or like, I need advice, or I'm confused. Like, he would be like, he would lay it all out. Like, and he always supported me for all the crazy shit I wanted to do. Like, I was like, I want to go to Haiti. He's like, all right. Like, because he'd already been to Africa and all these other places. And so
that's awesome.
He's like, I get that. You went to Haiti with me. That was cool. I'll always remember that. And, but, you know, now we're at a point in our relationship where I'm in the business and he's out. Like, he's retired.
Yeah.
So he had his time, and he did all he could, and it's on him to walk away and stay away. Like, and that's hard. Not everyone can do that. To walk away from something you've been doing for like 43 years.
With your name on it.
Yeah. Not easy.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's got really into fishing. No, I think you know, there's a concept they taught us in family business school when I was in college. The moment when Obi-Wan Kenobi, like, hits his lightsaber and retracts it so that Darth Vader can strike him down, he's doing that so Luke can become the Jedi that he needs to be to restore balance to the Force. So he takes that hit so that he can move on to the person that he's going to be. And it's a very valid concept. Like, and I watched my dad do that, and, you know, it wasn't easy. I definitely could see it wasn't easy, but he did it, and, you know, business is running good, and his successors are really great. I like him a lot.
That's an extremely powerful statement to compare an act of nobility like that to your father. I have a few questions, but I'm going to suppress them. And
I have a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Did your dad save my life?
When?
I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. I really need to talk to him. I haven't talked to him since we did the drone flight over his property.
That might be a question for him.
I should, but
What happened?
So I was 14. I was on a school trip, and I think I drank too many energy drinks.
No kidding.
I had a misfire in my heart, and my heart was beating out of control. And we went to the Columbus emergency room at the time, which was like on a Thursday night. And I think your dad restarted my heart. I don't know.
But you haven't confirmed.
No. I think it was him, though. I don't know. I've talked to Colton a lot about this. He's like, I have no idea.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you the same thing.
Ask your dad. You might not know either. It all blurs together probably for him.
It was amazing how many people he did know. He's like, I saw your friend Colby today, wrapped his arm back up or whatever. So it's like he knew our friends, so I'm sure he'd remember.
It all happened so quickly.
Yeah.
But it was a guy that looked a lot like you and Colton in your older age.
That's a pretty gnarly story. Good grief. Heart palpitations from energy drinks.
Silver Dollar City, baby.
That's wild. Let me ask you, what does legacy mean to you?
I don't know. What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What's more important to you? Is it your public perception, or is it your, is it your close family perception? Like, what really there's a lot of people out there stunting.
100%.
I'm on the board of directors of, I don't know, I'm on the city council. I'm on, I don't know why they have a British accent, but I say, what's more important to you, like your public perception or like the people that know you? Like, I would like to think that my legacy will be the people that I worked with every day, to help them do their job better, and my kids, will my son be like, yeah, dad was able to come home every day and give it his all? I'm like, that's the legacy I want to leave. I don't, Crossland will be fine, without me. But I do think that it is kind of also on my generation, my cousins and my siblings, to go as hard as you can, because we're never gonna be able to beat what our parents did. We're never gonna be able to expand the business tenfold.
Sure.
You understand? Because if we do, we are the construction company.
Yeah. Right.
It's not possible.
Crossland's already one of the biggest of the world, if I'm not mistaken.
We're in the top 100. Yeah.
Top 100 of the world.
No, not the world. No.
U.S.?
USA.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 64.
60. I mean, you're
USA.
That's insane.
By my calculation.
That's insane.
Yeah. I think we were 69. I think we were 69 the last time I checked, but if I'm doing the math right, I think we're 64 now. Or we will be this year. So we'll see.
So still expanding, still growing.
Yeah. We want to be top 50 by 2026.
Okay.
So tough goal.
So do you have any opinion, any say on, say, lived experience versus legacy?
Well, I'll never really understand the times that my grandfather came from. Yes, he did leave a legacy, but I'll never understand the times that he came from.
Do you think he prioritized his lived experience, or do you think he prioritized his legacy?
Oh, I think at the time he was just trying to do as much as he could for his kids, and then it kind of turned into a legacy. I think I asked him one time. He used to take me around in his truck, and we'd go running errands and stuff. I lived across the street from him, which is awesome. And most of the time he'd be outside picking pecans, but up from the tree. But every now and then he'd take me in his truck, where you go get Sonic or something in the drive-thru, and then we would go to the yard, and I'd have to squeeze through places that he couldn't get because he was old. And I would get stuff for the steel crew, joints or, just concrete form clips, something like that, just random tools that were around the yard. He's like, go pick these up. I think I asked him one time, I was like, do you ever think that you would get here with like your, and I think he's just like, he's like, Collin, honestly, I don't know how it happened so fast. Like, and yeah, I could see that because, like when he was like, he had just been he had been diagnosed with cancer like pretty, like in the 90s, mid 90s and maybe late 90s, and then early 2000s they had said he was going to die like 3-4 years before, and he kept on living, and then he got a $20 million project, and I think that was his legacy. It's like he's like going out on top. And I mean,
what a baller.
He left. I was there probably 6 hours before he died, and I hugged him, and he was surrounded by family. Isn't that the way you want to go?
Man, it's not much better way.
It wasn't the business that made us all around him. It was who he was. I don't know. It has nothing to do with. It's all about who you are.
I think you throw in a great caveat before all that of his time was just different. It's just he probably was not thinking about legacy.
But
he probably just worked his ass off.
In terms of lived experience, I've never walked to Colorado.
Well, will that be a part of my legacy?
I have scrambled a bunch of resources to look out for a guy walking to Colorado.
Yeah, man, you saved my ass on multiple occasions.
You never took me up on that, shower in our office.
No, that was.
I was like, "Hey, will you let this guy in?" And they're like,
"We have showers."
Yeah, I mean, sure. They were real cool about it. I was like, "That's awesome."
Dude, I think I sent you a picture. I was wherever
you're
at
a job site. Yeah,
at a job site. I look up and see Crossland. Like,
I texted the team. I was like, "Listen, don't worry about this guy. He's with me." And they're like, "What?" And I'm
He's
like,
gonna
"Don't
smell
worry
bad.
about it." What did I say?
Smell bad and a big old backpack. You can't miss him. No,
I was so proud and worried about you at that time.
Well,
so.
I appreciate both. What's the hardest thing about being a Crossland?
It's really not much hard. It's really not that hard. You just got to work harder than everybody else around you.
I mean, that can be difficult when you want to take the easy route, but
depends on who's around you. But yeah,
there's a call in your heart or wherever that is, no, you're a Crossland. You got to be better than that. That's kind of what I'm picking up.
Well, you have to realize that like it could have happened to anybody. Nothing makes us really special. Nothing. You're not special. At the end of the day, you're not special. You are there to work. You're there to make advancement. You are there to create an outcome. You're there to add value. If you don't add value, you don't have any reason being there. Like anywhere, really. I mean, if you're not adding value somewhere, I don't know. That could be anything, You might be the greatest, stock checker in Home Depot, and I'm like, oh yeah, dude, if Gary's on stock today, it's gonna be awesome. Like, he's got everything lined up for deliveries. Like, you make everybody's life better. I don't know. The hardest thing about being a Crossland, probably, just every day being like, I think I told the last time I talked to you, I told you this is like every morning I start with the same prayers, like, dear Lord, thank you for this day, rain, shine, sleet, whatever. Just happy to be here. Keep my family safe, keep my boys healthy and happy, keep my wife happy, and then help us to be good stewards of the assets that you have provided us. Because at the end of the day, we are stewards of the company. We serve the company. The company's not ours. It belongs to 1,600 people. That's the thing you have to remember. Your name might be on the building. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say Collin Crossland Construction. It says Crossland. That name belongs to a lot of people, and you serve that company and those people. You're responsible for 1,600 people or 1,600 families. And every decision you make, whether it be at a boardroom table, whether it be at your desk, or, you are there to make sure that they can provide for their families and then hopefully add more families. Like, that's the goal. The goal is to add more families. It's not to do more work. It's not to make more money. It is I want to employ as many people as possible. I say we.
Sure.
We want to employ as many people as possible. Yeah, checking your name at the door is probably the hardest thing.
It's a good answer.
Yeah. Well,
honestly, I'm impressed at your answers because, I'm writing these questions thinking, and I kind of throw in a little impromptu answer of what I think you would say. And the first thing you said is add value to these people's lives as far as legacy goes. And you did bring in your boys and your family as well, which is kind of what I was thinking. But it's impressive to see the importance that you put on the Crossland name, the company itself, the infrastructure, and what you provide to so many people, and that you don't take that lightly. So I think...
Yeah. I mean, I'll be okay if my sons want to do something else. Every time they I think I had a play hard hat for them, and every time they'd put it on as babies, I'd be like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? It's not easy."
They are very young. They got a lot of time to figure all that out.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to be crushed if your oldest says, "I just want to go to the college farthest away from here"?
I'll be all right with that. That's fine. Go. Good luck.
You'll completely understand it.
I'll do the same thing my dad did. Like, you got 4 years. Good luck.
Figure it out.
And no, I mean, I think the hardest thing for me as a Crossland was I did have to, when I realized that people were coming to me, the guy that makes videos, they're coming to me and saying they're like, "I don't have the resources to run my department, or I don't have the ability to do what I need to do my job. I don't have the information." I kind of had to make a stand, and I kind of had to throw the weight of my name. And I do feel badly about that. Yeah. But it worked out. And I think I was able to prove that it did work out, but it was not an easy battle. I got a lot of resistance, but burned a lot of bridges.
For the better, though.
Well, it was for them. It wasn't for me. It looked like it was for me, but it was for them. And, as soon as I was able to help them out, I felt way better about my decisions. But yeah.
That sounds hard as hell.
I was just very strange, I was in meetings. I was definitely in meetings I shouldn't have been in. Kind of I was just kind of sitting in the back, and I think at one point some executive pulled me aside and was like, "What you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Well, this is kind of what I see. This is kind of what I need to do, and I think this is what we can do." And I think he said to me, "Collin, it doesn't matter what data you show us, it's not going to affect the way we make decisions." And I was just kind of I think I was silent. I don't know if I said this, but in my head, I might have said this. I was like, "Don't you ever tell anybody that."
That sounds don't
tell anyone that.
That sounds like the
ever.
Dumbest thing somebody could say.
But then I realized the scope of the problem. I was like, "Oh my God, we have a real problem here."
Of ignorance? I mean, that's ignorant.
Well, I don't think it was ignorance, because I don't think he saw that there was a problem.
Okay.
Because he was so high up that he was getting the information he needed when he needed it. And so I could see where he didn't see that there was a problem. And I won't say whether he is still here or not there, but it is what it is. Yeah, a lot of people got on to me for that, but yeah, that was the time where I didn't check my name at the door. I was like, "If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to get rid of me."
So I mean, that's
not to sound tough, because I was like, "Please don't get rid of me.
Right.
I'm about to get married."
Sometimes you gotta front that,
Yeah.
It sounds like it was a hard lesson learned, but also a valuable, important lesson that you did, in hindsight, the right thing. even though at the time it was very difficult.
Nah, everything kind of lined up perfectly to where it needed to be, and I was able to make the pitch perfectly and I had the results to prove it. I was like, I'm able to connect this, and this all in one place like that, and it doesn't age. It does not age. Everything I do, every report I ever make, I let it go, and it's just running. So it's up to date to the day. Like it's a great new world we're living in. I really walked into it at the perfect time.
And then that really opened up everybody's eyes.
Yeah. I mean, on the cusp of like, this stuff is just coming out. Like, so, a construction company would be really on top of that, in an industry that is, historically always behind technology wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, it's cool that we're on the forefront of this.
Cutting edge, as they say.
I'm really proud of that.
That's very
but
cool.
It's just, it's all God. That ain't
Okay,
me. That ain't me.
Man, perfect segue. Reading my mind. You've touched on it a few times, and just there, has God always been a variable, for lack of a better term, in the Crossland family? Has your family always been religious, and has your family always prioritized relationship with God?
Yeah, every company board meeting starts with a prayer.
That seems very unique.
Every company Christmas party starts with prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, and I don't know.
That
we got a lot of veterans.
Probably goes back to your grandpa or something.
Veteran
and Christian. God believer.
Actually, towards the end of his life, he got baptized. Like, right? Yeah.
Wow.
And probably, I want to say 3 years before he died, he got baptized and had his first communion. But he had gone to Catholic church every Sunday with his family forever. He just never took communion, and I think they asked him about that. And he's like, why? He's like, oh, I didn't want to fake it. Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Imagine going with your kids for like 30, 40, 50 years and never taking communion, just kind of going through the motions, but like, not taking that next step, and then just right at the end, kind of like just realizing like, oh, I do believe in this. And just to have the restraint to not fake it. I really I admire that a lot. Like,
way easier to go through the motions.
I'd definitely take a communion when I didn't feel like it.
100%. When I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just doing it because I don't get it, but I'm just going to do it anyway.
It's so nuts to me. It's so cool.
I remember going back to our church days, your parents were always there and you were always there. So it's like, when you see that, you assume that God is a central figure.
When were you baptized?
Middle school, probably.
I was 8.
7th, 8th grade, maybe around there.
I was 8. I decided to.
You were pretty young.
Yeah.
Shimmerhorn?
No, that was before I came to RC. So I was just like, it's actually in like a small churches. They had the tub in the wall.
Yep.
And they'd have it like a big thing. It's pretty cool.
I thought that was just Catholic.
No.
That was a Christian church?
It was a Christian church.
Huh.
Center Christian Church in Columbus, Kansas.
In Columbus. Are they still there?
I went out there the other day.
Yeah?
It's pretty cool.
Still going?
I was like, oh, wow.
You guys still here?
It's just, I just really went out to the field, like the ball field and stuff. It was really cool. You good?
Oh my God. That can't be right. That's crazy.
What, the time?
55 minutes in. I feel like we're 20.
I'm fine, man.
Okay, good.
Keep going. I don't care.
What's the most important?
This is the most fun I've had on a weekend.
Good, man. Good. We'll just make it a recurring segment, dude. Well, we got a lot to go there. I won't keep you too long, but I do have some more.
You're not going anywhere after this. You're gonna hang out.
What's that? What is the most important or significant event of your life? I know that's pretty wide. It doesn't have to be the correct answer.
Probably meeting my wife.
Anything that comes to your mind? Okay.
That's the first one that comes to mind. Meeting my wife I was working nights like for so long. Like, It's just a lonely time, kind of, really. I wasn't doing anything. I was just hanging out with my friends, kind of in Kansas City, and I think one of them, I was working late, and I FaceTimed her, and I was like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, nothing, going to bed." I'm like, "Oh, I'm just starting my day." She's like,
Cool.
"That is not healthy." And I'm like, "Oh, well, I am here." So, and she was like, "You know what you need to do? Probably need to get on like a Match.com or something. Like, you're never gonna meet anybody."
This is your wife
No,
telling
no,
you?
no, no, no.
Oh,
no,
okay. I'm
this is my
sorry.
friend.
I'm sorry.
It's
Okay.
my friend Hallie.
Okay.
She was like, "You need to get on Match.com, and like, you're never gonna meet anybody like this." And I was like, "Maybe you're right." So I did. It was like 4 dates in, I met my wife, and I remember turning that corner in that first date, and I was like, so much trouble.
First date.
Everything's about to change.
First date.
Probably, yeah. I was like, man. I was like, because I realized like how much had to change, how much was going to change, and I was like, well, we'll let it play out. But
Was that hard for you, or was it a welcome change?
it was pretty hard overall. But yeah, I mean, end result, welcome for sure. But
Hindsight's 20/20 though. When you're going
Yeah.
through it, it can be a little tougher.
going through it, I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I think I was with Colton, and I was selling my skills on the open market in order to buy a ring.
Doing whatever it took.
Any car dealership videos, whatever, Christmas party videos for your small company, whatever, like Instagram, sure, got you, quick $200, like fast as possible, like trying to make as much money as I could, as quickly as I could. This wasn't right after our first date, but like,
Sure.
it was
of
a
course.
broad 3 years. So
Did you date in your young 20s, mid 20s, or were those mostly single years?
I think I had one college girlfriend, and that was it. Like from probably like 17 to 27, I was single mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, wait. Well, except for the college girlfriend for about a year, and from then on, it was just kind of single, found different dates. I realized what it took to bring someone home and to have a wife. Marriage is just the hardest thing you could ever agree to go in on someone with.
Wow.
Just everything stacked against you. Just the time, people developing at different levels, and two different personalities might split. They might not go the same way. Values differ. It's so. I mean, it's why the failure rate is so as much as it is.
50%, I believe, last I saw.
But so I was really like, if I'm not supposed to be with this girl, please move her off the chessboard. And I can look back in my life, and I could literally see all these girls being like moved off the chessboard, like yeah, it's
Except
crazy.
for one.
Except for that one, yeah. And I mean, we're almost to 5 years, and it's so. I mean, we've been together probably 7 years. I mean, married maybe 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's how it works.
She's fantastic. Yeah, I'm so lucky that way. But that was probably the hardest. And then there was another moment in my life in college where I kind of lost who I was. My mentor died when I was into my sophomore year.
Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a woman I worked with every day with in college. Was kind of like her go-to assistant. And she became like my go-to mom in Florida for 2 years. She died suddenly.
Oh.
Yeah, it was awful.
Oh.
And yeah, and then after that, it kind of got dark. Like, it was a long 2 years in Florida, probably. Did a lot of things I regret, but, everybody's got those things. But
Do you see that as part of your path to self-discovery?
well, I think at the end of it, I realized how much I needed God. Like,
Wow.
I needed religion, and I'd lost who I was. Really got to the point where I was like, I can't look at myself in the mirror anymore. It sucks. So I got out of that, and I was like, I got to go home. That was kind of my moment where I was like, after 2 years of that, I was like, I got to go home. And home is where I started to put it all back together. It wasn't perfect. It took a long time, but it was worth it to come home and to just kind of put down the roots of a base and then build from that and then bail on home again and go to Kansas City.
A little closer than Florida at
Do
least.
7 years there, and I found my wife. Yeah.
During your single years, and I know there's a lot of them in there, same here. You know, was it all darkness? Did you ever, or not so much darkness, I say loneliness maybe? Were you ever wanting a companionship, or were you flying free in the clouds, not worrying about anything?
I mean, loneliness is really kind of the true test of oneself. Honestly, can you be alone? Do you really, I mean, can you be alone? That's a big question. Like, how long can you be alone? Like, how long? Like, it's hard. Yeah, I mean, being alone sucks. I understand that. And I was alone a lot of times. But I always thought to myself, I was like, listen, if I can handle this just by myself, I can probably build a decent character and decent values off of that and just kind of build myself up and a kind of an inner strength from just kind of going through that. How old are you?
30.
You're 30? 20.
Couple years ago I was.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think being alone is a true test of, like, can you handle it? And if you can handle that, I mean, you can handle anything, honestly.
Marriage
Oh yeah, you'll be all right.
And you say, because you
Everything
say,
I know about you, you'll be fine.
you say marriage is the hardest, damn near the hardest thing imaginable.
Yeah, well, because I mean, marriage and, you know, being a dad. I mean, we'll start with marriage, but like you split your priorities in half. You're no longer yourself. You're this other person, so you have to worry about them too, and that's a start. And you have kids, and then at that point, you check all selfishness at the door. It sucks.
Oh, that's the thing. Like,
and that takes time to bleed out of you. Like,
if you're alone, you got one person to watch out for, and that's it. And it's like, as long as you're taken care of,
yeah.
And in a sense, it's easy.
Oh yeah.
But then you add somebody in, and now it's like, especially as a man, as the traditional provider role.
From there, you realize, like, oh, all those problems that I thought I had were nothing.
Yeah,
and which is kind of great,
okay,
but kind of horrible.
Horrifying.
It's a balance, really.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, yeah. Like, I look back at like my single years of like, oh, all those times I had to just, you know, watch Game of Thrones endlessly, or like, you know, like, or I could go run in the city, you know, like that, you know, that's over, and I'm cool with that. But, you know, run my neighborhood, be all right.
I think there's something about, you know, there's the folks that get married at 18. And
yeah, tell me what you think.
Well, to me, 18 marriage, it's a little early, right? It's a bit, you're missing out on opportunities that other people in your peer group are getting because you're married and you ain't doing what they're doing. You get married late. I like it neat.
Okay.
You get married late. You know, you got to experience a lot of the things that you know, it's almost like, what's normal to you? Is it normal to get married at 18 as our grandparents were, or is it normal to get married at 30 and go from there?
Nothing's really late anymore. I mean, if you look at like how much life is extended, like people are having kids at like 40 now.
Yeah.
Like easily, like with, you know, all the medical advancements and stuff like that. But like our lives are getting so much longer. Like, I mean, that's what that's what all these, you know, all these economists I look at and all these data points. I was like, it's like everyone's living too long, and I'm like, how's that a problem? Market will open up, it'll be all right. And yeah, it's. I think I got married at just the right time. Like, you know, like I think I got married at 30, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's been 100 years. 100 years.
Whatever 100 minus
100 years
34
I've been
is.
married. No, I'm just- no, I got married at the perfect time. I think I had a kid at 31, and yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it. You get the alone time, you get the darkness, you get pulled out of the darkness, you get everything in between to where your wife shows up on match, and then it's almost like,
My cousin just had his first baby at 38.
well, like you said, it was just the perfect timing. It was just like, I'm ready for it. Open arms, like, let's go.
Yeah, but you have to be ready for it.
But you have to be ready.
You have to be ready. I mean, your mind has to be ready for it. You have to be willing. Like, okay, I'm going in this with no illusion. Like, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough, and you grind through it. But like, parenthood does that. Marriage is the first steps, and that's much easier than being a parent. But like, yeah, finding the right woman, man, you don't want to rush that. Don't rush it at all. I promise you, because you're choosing someone. Can I grow old with this person? Can I build a life? Can I build a legacy with someone? And the legacy that me and my wife are going to lead is so much, to me, it's more important than what I do at Crossland. So, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. I do love the porch rocking argument of like, who do you want to be rocking on the porch with at 80 or whatever? Because if she's hot now, but you can't even talk to her, or, whatever the scenario is, it's like, you better be able to talk to her for the next 50, 60, 70 years if you're going to marry her.
Can you play bridge with
Or
this
him.
person? Can you play gin with this person? Can you...
Do you want to play
Are you
board
willing
games?
to figure out solitaire on a new computer with...
You got to troubleshoot together. You got to work together.
I look back at my grandparents, and their big thing was like they watched Walker Texas Ranger together like every Friday night, and I was always there for it. I was like, this is height.
Now, did you recognize how special that is, that your grandparents can sit there and enjoy something together at that elder age?
Yeah, I mean they would just sit in their chairs, which were side by side, and if they wanted to talk to each other, they would. If not, they would just watch the TV. But I mean, they've been together so long, It's that grandfather was a farmer, and he was out in the field all day, and he came back and he wanted to smoke a cigar and just watch some tube, and my grandma would talk when he wanted to talk, and it was just like kind of a balancing act. And then on the weekends, he'd be more talkative, kind of like he'd be like, let's go to the Harley Davidson shop and get donut day. Like, I'm like, yeah, like Harley Davidson was like a big part of my life.
Okay.
Like when I was a kid.
No kidding. Because of your grandpa?
He was my grandparents rode Harleys hardcore, like forever. Which I always thought would be the greatest way to say they died. It was like, oh yeah, they flipped their Harley.
That would be pretty wicked.
Wicked semi-truck accident, man. Like,
Yeah, it was disgusting. They went out doing what they love, though.
no, but do you have grandparents?
Yep. All of them but one. My grandpa on my
yeah.
dad's side passed.
Oh, when?
Probably 2014-ish. It's been a while.
So you got 3 still?
Got 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Very fortunate. Very fortunate. It is one of those sad things. It's like, dude.
What'd they do?
My grandpa was like an iron worker, was a welder, worked on railroads and stuff, and a farmer.
All those times I tried to convince you to join the steel crew.
Dude, I think
It's in your blood.
the Seifert family, I think they got married. I think she was like 16 or something. This was way back in the day.
All right.
That's kind of what I was getting at, though, of like, dude, when my grandpa died, it's like...
So that's when your grandparents got married, 16, 18?
Something like that, right?
16, 28?
Yeah. It was back then. But like, you could see a piece of my grandma die that day
Oh,
too.
no.
Yeah, it's terrible. And now it's been 10 years, it's just like, it's just so sad that like, and Christmas, Thanksgiving or whatever, it's like,
Yeah, it takes time.
my grandma and I have actually gotten pretty close over the years. And it's like, dude, something about sitting next to her and just telling her like, I wish grandpa was here right now. And just having a short conversation with her about it of like, I haven't forgot, You know,
Yeah.
I remember Grandpa.
I watched a lot of that when because I grew up across the street from it as it happened, so like the house of, where all these kids were, or all these children of my grandfather were gathered, and, seeing him cry in the front lawn and stuff, and my dad consoling. I can't decide if it was because he was such a big, prominent figure, or it was because of who he was. I really do think it was because of who he was, because, not everyone was part of the business.
Yeah.
He had 10 kids.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. I agree with you. I'm sure it was from who he was
wild.
and not because he was a successful businessman or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
no, we all knew him on a personal level and he loved us.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things, like, I kind of check that success at the door, and I try to look at, he wasn't perfect. He was a great dude. Loved him to death. But he had his flaws. We all do.
Of course.
But I don't know. It's interesting to just kind of see those generations of, like, when they, decide to, like, when they decided to marry. I think, my grandpa decided to, like, he proposed to my grandma, like, when he was in the Army in California. And I don't know, like, she was, like, a Mexican American, at the time. Like, I don't know I think she was a citizen, but, like, I mean,
You
her
think?
kid, no, she was a citizen, but, like, her parents, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've tried to track that info down. Can't do it.
Can't find it.
I just know my 23andMe is just like, it was very broad down here in South America, and then, over here in Spain. I'm like, do you still write a lot?
Right?
Do you still write a lot? Like, you got a journal there, I see
Bro,
that, but, like,
This
I
one,
stopped a long time ago. Or not a long time ago, probably 3 years ago.
This one's much less diary. I do kind of have I guess I call it a diary. This is like journal. This is what I call journal. It's a diary I would relate to, like, today I went to this and this is how I feel, and it's just kind of like barfing out feelings and what happened today, just as
good for you,
as a memory. It is. I don't hit that as hard.
That's how I pray,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I
Spill
my
it
morning
all.
prayer is a journal, basically.
Spill it all.
It's just like, okay, yeah, Lord, please help me to control my drinking. Please help me to keep myself in check. Please help me to, be humble when I walk in the door every day at work, stuff like that. If I failed yesterday, I'd pray over that in the morning.
Right.
It's really good.
You're
Really, having a dog and having a nice coffee machine has made me much better at praying in the morning. Write that down.
Yeah, dude, no, that's actually brilliant. Yeah, this is much more notes, thoughts, like, just throughout the day, it's like, oh, that's just a good thought. I'm just going to write that down.
You'll have no idea how important that is until, like, way later. I promise you.
I've been doing it for probably like 3 years. Kelsey, my sister-in-law, gets us these journals every Christmas. So then it's like I have a fresh notebook to start the year with. So this is my 2024 notebook, and plenty of them I haven't finished. I am on pace to burn through this one. I've been just on fire this year.
That's great, man.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I would definitely recommend you have something for notes, for just those random thoughts of the day, or just anything that comes to you that you want to keep in mind. Some people use their phone, a little note thing. It's fine. It's fine. It's better than nothing. It's better than just letting it walk away and you never get to revisit that thought. That's so much of it is like once every 3 weeks or whatever, you flip back and then it's like you kind of revisit some of those thoughts, revisit some of those things. And of course, this one's been used. You got a whole page here of questions and notes that I'm taking right now.
My boss did something really smart when I started working for him. He was like, every day you send me an email with, like, bullet points of what you did and what you accomplished and what you think is going on
for the day.
Yeah,
like
he's
after
like
the
3,
day.
4, 5 bullet points. It's all every day, and just every day I title a daily report and subject. And I didn't realize that, like, he was creating a journal for me, and I also didn't realize that no one else was doing it. Like, just me. It's because I was in Kansas City.
Singled you out.
It really did, like, and I haven't stopped even after moving back to Columbus. Like,
You still write them out?
yeah, three quick bullet points of like what I accomplished that day, what I think the issues are, what I've been working on, kind of thing.
Therapeutic for you?
I don't know if it's therapeutic, but it's definitely a way for me to look back and be like, man, if I'm ever discouraged about where I am, I look back a year
That's
ago
cool.
to this day,
Yeah.
and I'm like, holy crap, I'm far ahead.
That's
of where
what I was worried
thought.
about last year.
So crazy.
Huh.
Like, yeah, that was really nice of him to do, and I haven't stopped doing it because I think it's a really good thing.
That's awesome.
I don't think I missed a single one since I started working for him for
It's
like
impressive.
5 years.
Well,
Yeah.
there's absolutely something to say about consistency in anything.
Yeah,
in
in anything,
anything.
for sure. Yeah.
If you're consistent in anything, it's like that's so many people drop off because they just hit it hard and then they drop off. And it's just like, no matter what, you just stay consistent. And it's amazing what will come of it. Lessons of my life. We're getting close.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this is great because I have to watch the kids while she goes and does a nail appointment tomorrow. So like, I'm fine. Like, this is my night.
Is there an event in your life? Hang on, I'm going to read this as is. Is there an event in your life that seemed like a setback at the time, but now you view as a blessing?
Dang. Setback at the time. I don't know. I've definitely had setbacks, but I don't really know if... That's a good one. Oh, setbacks at the time.
Might not be anything that comes to mind. That's okay.
Yeah, it's... I might need a minute on that one. You got anything else? Or you got...
I do.
Okay. Hey, well...
That's one that's like... I just think...
yeah, give me an example.
I'm just thinking unfortunate things happen all the time, and so much of how they're dealt with is attitude. And sometimes it's like, I'm trying to have a good attitude about this, but this just sucks. But then, as you say, let a year go by, let 2 years go by. All of a sudden you look back at it, and it's like, if that hadn't happened,
Right. Yeah.
where the hell would I be? Like, I would have spiraled in a different direction, and it would have...
You know what? Sometimes I look back at my career and I am kind of like, all those years I spent just making videos that are gone now. Like, they are gone.
No portfolio
There's
for
no
it.
way. They're making their way for sure with copyright laws expanding and stuff like that. You know, I was making like quick videos to Mac Miller instrumentals. Like, you know, that's gonna get flagged pretty quickly. I do kind of look back at my career and I'm like, what was that first 5-6 years about? Well, I got to travel the country. Okay. And sure, all the work I did back then is probably gone, and it's stored on a hard drive now, and it's just there, and no one's using it, kind of thing, and that's fine. You know, it'll probably come back around. But like, I got to interview my biggest, you know, my most prominent family members. I got to interview them in like the highest quality resolution at the time, so it's like future proof as much as we can. That's gonna suck.
AI.
But I got to travel the country. I got to know people all over the country that I never would have if I had just started in IT. I never would have met those people. I never would have got to go out with project teams. I never would have got to see certain buildings being built up. Yeah, I never would have got to experience what my company is all about. And I really think you have to understand that in order to, like, I mean, you got to watch concrete being poured in order to calculate its data, you know? Like, it's important. It's so important. Man,
Wow.
And then you think of, like, the aspects of that, like, the temperature in which they poured that day is important, you know? Because that's going to count to the percent of overflow. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it all adds up. It's a crazy combination of numbers. Construction is wild.
That's almost kind of a reverse answer, though, because it's like you're looking back on why did I spend all that time, and then you have to find the blessing in it of, I met people, I interviewed people.
Yeah, but I mean, I had no idea at the time,
Yeah.
you know? And then at the time, you know, when I started switching past, I was like, all this is for nothing, I guess. And
That must have been painful.
yeah, because I mean, you look back and I think I didn't get sued. That would be, I didn't get sued. I got put on notice that some of our videos the music was copyrighted. I think it was, so one of our Christmas parties was Back to the Future themed. So I rented a DeLorean look-alike for Back to the Future, and I filmed a video of like one of our project managers and our business developer going back in time. So like I filmed them going in an actual replica of the DeLorean, and I put it to Back to the Future music. And then they came at us and were like, we're going to sue you if you don't take this down. It wasn't, but then we were like, do you have the rights to this? And they were like, well, no. And they're like, okay. But by that time, by the end of that whole argument, we had already taken all the videos down.
Yeah.
So
There wasn't anything
and
there.
then, you know, COVID happened. And anyway, all those people are dead. Anyway, my trip to New York was great. Anyway. No, I mean, that was kind of sad. But I mean, I still have my work. I can still look back at it anytime I want to.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of it. And it made so many other people happy.
Yeah.
I got to make other people like really excited
That
about
was the
the
whole
work
point.
they did.
That
Yeah.
was the whole
they
point
were
of it.
always so stoked. And you know, I'll go to a Christmas party now and, you know, I'll put my phone on the table and it'll just vibrate as videos are being played and being like, this isn't what you made. I'm like, yes, I am aware. I don't do that anymore. But I'm like, can you stop it? People are looking at me. Like, it's just, no. So I do look back at that and I'm kind of like, ooh, was it? But it was. I mean, I got to see my company work in many different ways. I got chased down by a superintendent once because I was filming and I wasn't in a company car and I had a long lens. So I was like filming the work we were doing on top and he chased me down. I raced with him.
Oh my
He
God.
raced. He caught me. He got me. He pinned me in Arkansas.
You could have just said
It was
who
awesome.
you were.
I was like, hey. He's like, he gets out of his truck and he's like, Collin? And I'm like, hey, how are you, bud?
That was a fun
what are
run.
you doing here?
Run around the building there.
So that's it. That's a pretty good example of
Love it.
what I thought was a setback and was actually, you know, sure, my work isn't on the internet anymore, but it's fine.
Yeah,
It'll be all right.
it'll be all right.
I got social media started in Crossland. I got, you know, video coverage started at Crossland. I started a whole new way of sharing information. That was a good way to walk out. So someone else has to pump up those numbers. It's not my job anymore.
Right. Man, this has been a great conversation. We got one more little avenue here I'd love to touch on. In what ways has fatherhood changed you? And do you have any advice for expecting fathers?
Yeah. Well, fatherhood doesn't change you. You have to choose to change. And that's hard. Fatherhood requires you to check all selfishness at the door. And that ain't easy. Like, you'll have those moments of like, well, you know, I need my time. But really, your time is over.
Sometimes you don't get that time.
Your time is over. That hour nap is yours. That's it. Like, sometimes it's a 3-hour nap. That's pretty great. But you have 2 kids, it's an hour. But no, I mean, there is no greater joy, and I can promise you this because I like to think I've experienced all aspects of life, every down, up, every, you know, little morsel you save of like, you travel to a new place, you walk out of the airport, you get in that taxi, you see the skyline, or, you know, you finish something at work, or you achieve something and everyone, or a thunderous applause of videos you made or all these highs, nothing beats that day when you see your kid, pop out for the first time and he comes over that sheet. If you're a really brave man, you're under that sheet. But you see that kid come out, and it's the greatest joy you'll ever have. Like, you'll be chased. There's nothing that comes close to that.
That moment in particular?
Yeah. The minute you see that child, come out of somebody you love and you see him for the first time, it's just like, it's so like beyond anything I could possibly describe. It's so surreal, and I'll never get anything like that again. And so when you've been to the top, it's easy to kind of, handle.
Almost like
what
coast
comes
the rest
next.
of the way. Yeah.
Watching my son's 3 now, and watching him grow up and kind of develop into a person is pretty cool. Today, he spent all day trying to talk to Google. Hey, Google. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Okay, Google, what does Red Fox sound like?
My phones are probably going nuts right now.
No, it's crazy. That was really cool, but nothing compares to when he pops out. But, like, to be a dad every day, you have to check selfishness at the door, and it sucks. And, no dad's perfect. Shouldn't try to be perfect. Just try to be better every day. And
how do you try to be perfect? Because no doubt a good father will try to be. How do you mitigate that?
Yeah.
Self-love, self-acceptance, forgiveness, forgiving yourself for your
faults.
faults.
Get real good at forgiveness for sure. I mean, because you're not going to get it right every time. So you're gonna fuck up some days.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna, and other days you're gonna have to, kind of put in the extra effort to make up for that. And I mean, it's really thinking about it like a job, like a second job. Like, I worked at 8.5 hours today. You have to, like, when I come home, I do not expect to sit down. I'm going for another 4.5. Yeah, it ain't great. It ain't great, but it is what is required. And, it will get easier as they get older. They'll be able to handle themselves, and you can tell them, you're like, hey, get the fuck out of here.
You'll have new
You're
challenges.
fine.
Then all of a sudden they're finding their own trouble and making their way past the backyarded wall.
I think those first 6 years are probably the most important, in terms of just you're developing yourself, you're developing. Not, I'm saying that I got 3 years to go. Like,
yeah.
And I know that I have, every day is going to be a, 13-hour requirement. So, yeah, that does suck in your head. But then you look at them and you're like, it doesn't suck. It's pretty great. Actually, at work, that's the only place I feel in control. Like I really do feel more in control of my day. If the CEO were to walk into my office and be like, I need all the fucking data of the curb crew today. And I'm like, yeah, no problem, buddy. I got you. Like, that's so much easier than what, having to figure out what do you mean this why doesn't this puzzle work? What do you mean? Like, that's harder, but I also don't have as much experience with kids as my wife does, and that's why she's great. She's amazing, and I'll never be able to touch her, so I just got to try and just meet her a little there.
Yeah.
But yeah, check all selfishness at the door. Like, all your wants, desires, what you want every day, that's gone. If you can do that, which sucks, but like, if you can do that, and if you can accept that, you'll be all right. Like, but they are all that matters. Like, really.
Now, of course, that deals with a lot of sacrifice on the father's end. How do you not lose yourself while giving all of yourself to your family?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like,
and maybe that's a balance.
Honestly, I feel like
nobody's found.
I feel like my wife sacrificed more, honestly. She moved here. away from her family, although it's mostly the same distance. Not really, but she gave up her career, to be with our kids, at least for the first few years. I think she'll go back to working. She seems bored as shit. I like to think at this point in the podcast, I'm like, if you made it this far to analyze me, anything I say is just really kind of like, you're fine. No, but I really think that Katie probably took the bigger hits when it comes to, being a parent. I mean, she's the one that, we had our second kid and we moved back here. Like, I stopped getting up at night. I was like, I got to go to work. So I got to do that. And she took over that and then is with them during the day whenever my oldest is in daycare 3 days a week. So I think she gave up more, honestly.
So find a good partner.
I just kind of cranked myself up to, 110% instead of, 100. So I didn't really take on more hours in terms of, work. But when I come home, there's 4 more hours.
Yeah,
for sure.
You have to still be on.
There's 4 more hours. Just come home. There's 4 more hours. But that little time in the car, that's yours.
Yeah, right. The drive
and
home.
Also, blinking is like little naps. It's very nice.
Wow. Well, you're really talking up fatherhood of these little creatures that you love more than anything.
Nah, it's so cool, man.
It's very cool.
You can't imagine. I watched, so I have a Nintendo Switch. I got a Mario 64 on it, and I gave it to my son. It was 2 at the time. You'd never seen a kid happier to be stuck in the corner of a level in your life. Or just like being the Mario outside the castle, in 64 Mario, just like swimming in the little pond outside the castle. Happiest kid you've ever seen. He's just like, for hours. Like, it's so funny to watch that. And then pretty soon he'll be jumping in the paintings. Pretty soon, that first day he'll beat Bowser. It'll be a big moment. Like, it's nuts. Like, it's cool. It's so cool to watch him develop, man. Like, God. Yeah. I mean, thinking about how far we came from when we were, when I turned that corner and I saw her in that black dress in that bar and that first Match.com date, and then now where we are, holy shit, it's so cool.
Like the rocket's still gaining velocity,
and
still taking off.
I promise you'll have that. You just,
Well, from an outside perspective,
just let me pay for that Match.com profile.
I need that subscription, baby.
Done. You want a year? I'll give you a year. You're done.
You need to write my bio and all that too.
Come on, man.
From an outside perspective, dude, it's really awesome to see looking in. Of course, I don't see the day-to-day and all that, but just the family dynamic, the respect that you give your wife and your children. It's so cool to see on the outside. Before we close up, do you have any parting words? Anything you'd like to say? Any message to the world? Anything like that?
Honestly, man, I'm just very proud of you.
Oh, shoot.
I watched you go through a time of where you didn't know, what was going on, and then you did the most. You're like, if I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to go to the extreme. I'm like, yeah, that's my boy. Like, I watched that, and I was so worried about you. Colton, he's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, maybe he was fronting. He's probably freaking out as much as I was. Yeah. But I think that's so cool. Like, that you went out and found yourself, and that you went out and did those things, and no one can ever take that away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're ready for anything. I think you're ready. I think you could, if you could do that, you could handle fatherhood. You'd be all right.
It's good. That was my preparation ceremony.
Yeah. Mine was, I was locked in an apartment in COVID, so.
But hey, man, equally as brutal.
It's fun.
Pretty brutal still.
Yeah, the minute I found out I was going to be a dad, all the bars in the city shut down. And I was like, holy shit.
That's wild.
I was like, wait, hang on. Can we talk about this?
You guys are serious, right?
But no, man. I mean, I am truly proud of you. I think you're a great human. I think that you're on the right track of exploring human nature, where your mind's at and where it's going, and nothing's gonna take that away from you in the future, and you'll be good. So, very proud of you, buddy.
Well, I don't take those words lightly. I do appreciate them very much. You're just one of those guys that we weren't close. We knew each other. We weren't close. I've truly enjoyed every time we hang out. I've enjoyed it more and more every time. You've been extremely generous with your resources to me over and over again. And I think you're a great guy. I think you're a great father. I think you're a great man. And I wish nothing but the best for you. And I think your trajectory is nothing but up and out. And I hope so. And walk with God, brother.
I have no idea who you are, and I've never met this man in my life. And what's he doing in my house?
Thanks, Collin. Love you, buddy.
I love you too, buddy. And